Hopefully everyone had a good weekend and is ready for the week. Um, we are going to spend the day looking through VCDB incidents and turning them into structured data because as much as the data science side of data science is fun and interesting, getting the data and getting good data is kind of the first step. In fact, I think that Hiram had something about that on Twitter. He did a talk at um, B-Sides Las Vegas Ground Truth a couple years ago where he took the same data and fed into progressively more modern neural nets, and the results kept getting worse. And it was kind of to make the point that throwing the fanciest model, the newest fanciest model at data doesn't necessarily make it better, and many times makes it worse. And instead, getting good data has a profound impact on data science and the statistics that we do. And so, because of that, we have to spend a lot of time doing the uneventful work of turning unstructured data into structured. And so we have lists of breaches in news articles, and I get assigned a couple every week, and we're going to turn those into structured data using the Various Community web app. You can get this. Let me make this a little bit bigger. You can get this at the Various Community website. I'm using the one hosted there. You can also download it from the Varus repository, which is vz-risk/Varus. In the bin directory, there's just a single HTML file, which builds this entire thing. So it runs in a browser. It'll run in Edge, Chrome, and Firefox. There's some minor security thing with Safari that we haven't figured out. But in general, it'll run and it doesn't call back to anything, and so you can run it in kind of an isolated environment without any additional tools other than a web browser, which is really nice. And so, okay, what do we have here? Taconic employee W2 data breach class action. Oh, this is interesting. We haven't seen a class action or a W2 breach in a while. So Taconic employee W2 data. This post may contain references to products from our partners who may receive compensation if you apply through our links. Okay, that's not helpful. What happened? All current and former employees of Taconic whose W2 data was compromised as a result of the data disclosure which occurred on or about January 30th, 2017 are eligible for a potential award of up to $3,000 from the lawsuit. If you're eligible, filing a claim before January 15th, 2020. And 2017 sounds about right for when the W2 breaches were happening. According to the lawsuit, the W2 breach exposed names, addresses, socials, and income information for nearly 700 workers. They also had stated that Taconic failed to properly secure the W2 information. If you're eligible lawsuit, make sure you file your claim by July 15th, 2020. So that doesn't actually tell us anything about the breach. So, okay. The first thing I want to do is I want to check if Taconic is already in the data set somewhere. And so we'll go back, and what's the name of this company? Taconic. To make sure that we didn't code the breach earlier. Yeah. And now we're just finding about the impact. Because now we have the impact. Potentially several $1,000s. So, Taconic, W2, and then breach. Let's see what we get. Settlement, class action lawsuit. Here's one from the appropriate time frame. Data breaches, privacy rights clearinghouse. Well, but that doesn't have company in it. Okay, so last year the site compiled victims of W2 scam 2017 list. Okay, so this is everyone. These are all the W2 breaches that happened in 2017. Let's see if we can find our company of choice. Taconic Biosciences. And here is the form from Maryland. We write on behalf of Taconic Biosciences. Let's see. To notify you of a phishing incident the time we recently experienced. On the 30th, an employee received an email and complied with an email appearing to come from another employee requesting the release of W2 tax information. Takak learned on February that the email was not an actual email. It was a phishing email from an unauthorized individual. Email appearing to come from another employee. So the question is whether it was sent from an internal or an external address, but I don't think we really know. And they kind of make it sound as if it was sent from an external organization. So I'm going to see. I think we should be able to code this because we've got a decent amount of information. Okay. Let's see. Security incident confirmed. GitHub number, and this helps us with forward and backward tracking. Traditionally, these records are created in such a way that they're hard to track backwards and hard to individually identify, because we don't want stuff in this data set, in the structured data, leading back a lot of times to the organization that contributed it. And so it's actually somewhat hard sometimes to go backwards from the data set to the source data. And so we have a few just kind of ID numbers that make it possible if you have both full data sets. Okay, so reference. I'm going to put the settlement here, and I'm also going to put the notification, the breach notification form here. Summary: employee was phished and sent actor W2 data of other employees. The 4 Maryland residents affected. Oh, 4 Maryland residents. Which is the only reason they had to disclose it. Confidence, pretty high. Timeline, incident. This happened in 2016. No, it happened in January 2017. January 30th. They discovered it. I mean, compromise took minutes, or probably statistically minutes, statistically hours, because most emails get clicked within. They get clicked within the first hour for about a third of them, and then another third in the first day. So hours would be a little more accurate. From that, it took minutes because they just sent it away. Discovery took about a month, and so we will say weeks 4. Oh no, I take that back. That's 1 week. In fact, that's 10 days. Go with 10 days, and then containment doesn't apply because they never really contained it. It was just over. So the victim is, I guess, the subsidiary, Taconic Biosciences, etc. Employee count. It's a good question. How many employees does Taconic Biosciences have? Maybe just Taconic. Camp Taconic. Preclinical services. Global provider of genetically modified mice. Cool. That's I mean, how many biosciences ones can there be? Oh, that's a group. So there's 45 members, but that really doesn't tell us a lot. Maybe we can just search for it. Taconic Biosciences Incorporated. So we've got some information about them, but I'm going to go with small unless I can find something. Ooh, to combine as a breeder and supplier of lab animals operating in over 50 countries. Well, that's probably not small. Current CEO, the company has over 800 employees and 1,300 customers. As of 2016, I'll bet that they've expanded. So I'm going to mark them as a large employee with 1,000 to 10,000 employees. So, oh, here we are. They have 430. Let's see what LinkedIn guesses they have for an employee count. If we type in biosciences, LinkedIn guesses under 1,000, maybe 100 to 1,000. Then, this is the problem. Is like they probably expanded, but did they expand by 20%? And it's really hard to tell. And 1,000 is an important breakpoint because it's the break between small and large. But the other number was lower. LinkedIn is estimating it lower, so we'll go with the lower guess. Okay, so let's go back here and go Nix code. Oh, come on. There we go. Takes top 115210. Let's see how that breaks out. See, I know I opened the Nix. Okay. It said 11. Wait, it said what? 115. That's weird. But they're raising mice. Even though they're really cool mice, they are raising mice, and so they're gonna fall under agriculture potentially. 11521. It can't be animal protection. That doesn't seem right. 115210. Yeah, I don't know about that. I think that maybe a medical one would maybe be better than support activities for. Well, support activities for animal production. Oh, what the heck. I like it as far as amusing names go. Or amusing Nix codes. Because I don't think I've ever used support activities for animal production. That may be the first time I've ever used that Nix code. So, okay. Location-wise, they are located in... Where did we decide? Albany, New York. So that would certainly be North America. Then US and Y. And there really is no secondary victim. So that's the victim information. And the action, this stuff goes pretty quick. This was a social attack. Let's see. Phishing. Email. The target was... we'll say human resources because they had W2 information and it was used to exfiltrate the data. There was really just that one email that was sent that stole that data, and this is going to be an external actor, financially motivated, because the reason you steal W2 information is you commit tax fraud, especially when you steal it in January. So this was an organized group because they hit a lot of people this way. Financial. We don't know where they were from, but I am going to have to put a country because it's required, so we'll put unknown, and we don't have to put a region. Okay. The asset, it looks like one spreadsheet of one document. This is media documents. Really, the asset compromised was the person. And the human resources person who sent it, and then we really don't know. We know they had to have been in the U.S. because they sent a U.S. U.S. W2s. Attribute was the confidentiality. Data disclosure, yes. Data total. Did they say how many people were involved in the class action lawsuit? nearly 700 workers. Okay, so 700. And variety, personal data. Oh, a blank thing for use later. This is tax information. W2. It was stored. I mean, it was sent to the attacker, but it wasn't captured in process. The data and victims were employees. Data abuse. Does it say lawsuit? And they also stated it failed to properly secure. It doesn't say if the data was abused. So very likely it was, but I don't see it listed here or not. Credit monitoring, targeted. I think these are opportunistic. There's no reason to target this specific company over any other company for W2 information. Discovery method, they don't say, but I don't know. They don't say. Over here, tectonic learned on or around. That feels like they were told from someone else. But they don't say. So mark unknown for discovery method. Value chain. There's no real development from a software perspective. Nor did they really have, we don't know about this. There was certainly targeting. They had to have an email address to target. We don't know how they sent out their emails. And then cash out will likely be tax fraud. We don't know anything about money laundering. The impact going to be hard costs. Currency is US dollars. The overall amount will take, I don't know, 700 times 3,000. Is that what they said? Up to $3,000. So their liability is probably 3,000 times 700. So 2 million ish. It doesn't really count the legal fees. Let's put that as a minimum amount. We don't really know what the maximum is. Loss, damage, legal and regulatory, operating costs, response and recovery. Other moderate. Legal class action settlement of 3K per person, max for 700 workers. I'm putting this as the minimum amount because this is what was just lost. Actually, this is the maximum amount they could lose from this. But the reality is, they probably spent a bunch of money in legal fees and such, as well as IR that added in here. But we'll put that as the impact. Plus, I think this was a random assignment. Yeah, there's no assignment reason. The event chain was a single social attack by an external actor, compromised a person who then compromised confidentiality. It's that simple. And that's kind of the scary thing, right? It's just this very simple, very straightforward set of actions that caused it. So we'll mark this as validated and save it. And it's always a good idea to apologize for the printer. Copy it off so that you've got an extra copy of it. So that if anything happens to the web browser, you can do something about it. So we can mark this one as closed, and we can go on to another one. Okay. Next, impatient former Hong Kong library worker arrested after stealing customers' personal data to borrow books faster. Okay. Well, some breaches are different. Okay. Oh, I opened this. I really meant to do this. A bibliophile who worked at a Hong Kong library had been arrested for using the personal information of about 130 customers without their permission, so she could quickly borrow their loaned books. The 25-year-old woman, who formerly worked for a contractor company, was responsible for handling returned library materials from readers between 2015 and this year. Was arrested in May 24, according to the Leisure and Culture Services Department. Police source said she had used the personal data of users to file loss reports for library cards on their behalf. After the report, customers would no longer be able to renew loaned books and were required to return them immediately. This would allow the woman to borrow those items. No financial losses were involved, and no books were said to have been stolen. So literally, when she wanted a book that was checked out, she canceled the person's library card so they would have to return it so she could check it out. Okie dokie. Personal data included card numbers, addresses, telephone, email. It was alerted earlier when the library received inquiries about registered users regarding unsuccessful access to their accounts. Department investigation showed the users' accounts were suspected to have improperly been accessed. 129 were filed lost library card reports or had changed account password on the cards, not being able to use the library online services department. Then, okay, I mean, this is actually a really well documented one too, so it should be pretty easy to go through. This is all this year, right? No, this is 2018. And actually, this last one, the last one we did, the data was this year, right? Issues. I want to make sure because I don't remember on this previous one whether the whether I coded the DBIR year correctly. So we'll go find the issue and not open. Let's put on April 18th. It happened, what, January 2017. Okay, so we do need to go back and change that one. So after I finish this one, we're going to go change the date because something that happened and was discovered in 2017 should be counted against the 2018 report. So we'll go back and change that here in a second. And so here, security incident confirmed, the GitHub number. Got to get back to that issue. This one, I think, 11611. References, very nice, robust article. And this should be interesting. Library employee canceled people's accessed people's library accounts and canceled their library cards to force them to return books early so that she could check them out. That's a weird one. Lots of detail. So when did this happen? Started in 2015. Compromise, I think, really, we don't know, but it's going to be a short amount of time, right? Because it wasn't like they worked at it. We'll put unknown. Don't know how long this worked. Exfiltration. From the first exfiltration, I mean, she really, I don't even think that exfiltration applies because we'll mark it as not applicable. Now, discovery is the interesting one because discovery started, they didn't discover it until 2018. So this went on for 3 years, which is understandable. It's not the most crazy thing in the world. Say it was arrested on May 14th. Part of the incident, May 23rd. Oh, they arrested her on the 24th. Well, that was pretty quick turnaround. Part of the incident on May to police. Oh, they reported on 23 since she was arrested the next day. The department users were suspected of having improperly accessed reports. The department was alerted earlier when the library received requires, but we don't know how much earlier. So we don't know how long they spent investigating it. So we'll close that. The victim was the Hong Kong Public Library, I guess. Come on. Hong Kong Public Library. And the employee count for the Hong Kong Public Library. I don't know. That's a new one. They have 14.35 million items. That's, how many employees? Okay. Yeah, lawful evil. Yeah, no, you don't really see, like, I always like the breaches where the person does something just like way over the top for just like some minor thing. Like the guy that we coded like a couple weeks ago that was just lived in like really rural town and so was just bored and so was accessing had accessed basically one person's personal information like per hour for 10 years just because he was bored at work at like an insurance company or something. So, okay, so how many employees? I don't know. I suspect that the Hong Kong Library is not a robust user of LinkedIn. Okay. Number of employees. Staff. Staff size. Staff number, we can try that. Contact us on staff. Help of library staff. Staff directory. Like, I'm not sure I really want to know, but okay, I'm gonna, without a better detail, I'm gonna assume they're small, under 1,000 employees. Industry, that should be pretty straightforward. Libraries and archives. Yeah, it's only those two. Locations affected, 1. Hong Kong has its own location. And regionally, it should be the same as China. I'm not sure Hong Kong has individual states. There's no real secondary victim here. Action. Misuse. This is privilege abuse because she has the access privileges to log in that system, the network, and she used it to infiltrate. She had access to the individual's data, but it's not like she took it. Knowledge is a secondary victim. I don't know. Like, I think knowledge was the beneficiary here since she read more. But I guess there's the knowledge of all the people who had their books forcibly returned. The asset was some server, whatever was maintaining these lists. We'll assume that Hong Kong keeps the servers in Hong Kong. Attribute, confidentiality, total. Did they say how many people she'd done this to? This was satisfied if whom 86 were reached. Let's try to contact. So at least 86. 130. Okay. We breached the data of 130 customers. So let's see. It's really just kind of personal data. Customers of the library, it was stored. Data abuse. This was not abused. The question, is there also an availability aspect to this? And I think maybe there was. Degradation, destruction, obscuration, loss. I'm going to say interruption because they could get it back. Duration, unknown. But I'm going to say that by stealing the data, she interrupted their access, or by forcing them to return the books, she interrupted their access to the books. Library patrons' access to books was interrupted. Oh, and that's not in the right spot. That should be in the notes. Yeah, but the difference, the way we would code ransomware, it is similar to ransomware, and I thought about that, but we code ransomware as obscuration because the data is all still there. It hasn't gone anywhere. It's just in a form that's unusable. Destruction would be if like the books were destroyed. Degradation is just performance degradation. Loss would be if you didn't get it back. It was stolen and you didn't get back. Interruption is, I think, taken but not returned. So targeted. This is opportunistic because she had access to the library. I don't know. I know I'm going to go with targeted because she probably is at the library specifically because she wants access to books. All right, the library provides something that very few other organizations could, and you could say that there are other libraries, but this is the large library, and I think that she could not have met her needs in other ways necessarily. So let's see. Discovery method, external. This is victims or users. Okay, researcher and then third party. Fraudulent customer. There we go. Close that. Impact. Insignificant from the victim standpoint. Plus, this is a random assignment. And this is going to be fun because I think there was misuse by the internal actor. Oh, and what did I code for actor? Did I even code actor? I don't think I did. Right? No, I skipped over it. So actor, internal, just a normal end user, employee. Move these over here. And then is it fun, curiosity, or pride? I would mark this as maybe fun. It's not really ideology. It's not grudge. There's no negative emotion here. Or convenience. That's what it is. This is definitely convenience. The easy way to get something. So random assignment, misuse by an internal actor on a server, compromise the confidentiality. And then misuse by an internal actor. Actually, and I'm going to mark... I think that there's another step in here. I think that she compromises the integrity, and I'm going to have to go mark integrity. And then by compromising the integrity, misuse by the internal actor, compromises the availability. And this is going to be media. This is a physical asset that the availability was compromised of. The integrity was the server. The confidentiality was the server. And so we're going to have to go back and change a couple things. There's a server, but there's also, say, media documents is the closest thing to books, I think, right? Books don't show up a lot. I'm going to go media other. And say at least 130 books. Yeah. I don't know if this is an 81's threat model. Total 131 assets. So we'll add the books themselves. And then from an action standpoint, we want to, or not an action, from a impact attribute standpoint, we want integrity, where she modified the configuration to say that the cards were expired or lost. To set library cards as lost. Okay, we'll say up, turn, and then I wanted to do a couple things right, because on this one, this was happened in 2017, so it needs to be counted against the 2018 report. Says, is this the library one? Oh no, this is a new one. I want to go and here we are. This is the first one, so we're going to mark it as 2018 DBR since it happened in 2017. And I'm going to copy this back in to this. Oop. And then on the library one, I forgot to mark this as validated. And that's important from our workflow standpoint, because if you don't mark kind of the status, it won't pick it up necessarily, because it'll think that maybe it wasn't completed. Okay, and so now we can start a new incident. And we can close this one out. Though I gotta admit, this is one of my favorite ones so far. Oh, I need to close it. Now we can go back. Brazilian IT firm Tivit suffers data leak. Okay. How am I doing on time? I'm a little behind, but not bad. I really do want to get 4 done today. I'll move this back to Google. Brazilian-based IT services and business process outsourcing provider Tivit has had data from many of its large customers leaked online. Security researcher website found about 1,000 lines of code available on Pastebin's website, including data such as credentials to Tivit systems used by customers, used by clients, and other sensitive information, including email exchanges. So 1,000 lines of code, which included credentials. This had involved data from 19 companies, including... So I'm unclear what's going on here. Told last week 9 members of staff had suffered a phishing attack through an email that contained a malicious link. This allowed criminals to gain access to details stored in their computers. However, he reiterated that neither its data centers nor client networks were invaded. Yeah, we'd like to. It was only the computers, not the data centers or the networks, were invaded, and outside sources of the incident. It's limited to the computers used by employees that have been targeted by the phishing. Deal with this high priority. This is not a lot of detail, but we may have to. I mean, it's enough to code it. I'm going to see if there's anything else here. Maybe a little more detail. And this happened at the end of last year, so this will go into the 2020 report. When did I code this one? Like, I changed this one to... This actually happened December 2015. It was discovered in something 2018, right? So it was discovered in May of 2018. So I think this one should be a 2019 as well. While I'm sitting here fixing things. And then we're back to having a clean, empty one here. Okay. What was this other article? Solutions, data breach exposes client's data. 9, this is involved 19 other companies, including kitchen appliance company Faber, Swiss Instant, some other names that are not helpful. Maybe this lab has a full write-up on what happened. Or maybe they just have a little bit of information. Yes, we're going to need this translated. Has identified a new persistent advanced monitoring on the pastebin test site containing data from Tivid. Appeared to be internal process documentation of the company itself. It is unclear whether it was product of an offensive action or an involuntary public mistake. There are almost 1,000 lines of code that appear to contain internal company routines as well as access credentials for clients, and the reason we know these companies is because those are the ones that were listed here. Make client credentials. The leak literally says has the credential names on them. Okay. And the other one was the ZDNet. Okay. So let's work from here. Security incident, yes. Copy in the GitHub link. Let's see. Reference. Like here. And then I'm going to put the reference to their actual post about it in here as well. Summary. Company Phished and desktop systems accessed to steal customer client credentials at the very least. Confidence meeting because we don't have a lot of detail here. Okay, so what do we got here? When did this happen? Incident involved data from IT companies. So access, okay. Represent last week, 9 members of staff suffered a phishing email. So we don't really have a date other than December 2018. I think that that's reasonable. Compromise. In fact, well, we know it's phishing. So ours is probably reasonable. Exfiltration. We don't know how long it took him to rifle through. Discovery, we really don't know because we know how it was discovered through the external pastebin. So the attackers really disclosed it themselves. Containment was probably, once they were notified, probably pretty quick, but who knows. The victim is Tivid. Who that is. A Brazilian. Oh, come on. Copy and paste just does not want to work today. Come on. Here we go. Okie dokie. Number of employees. Tivid. Tivid. Like I want to know the employees for this company. 5,000 to 10,000 according to Crunchbase. Okay. Well, I have a range for that. Industry. I guess I need to ask for a NICS code, don't I? So the NICS code, maybe 5416. 541. Let's see what 541 is. It's a good starting place. Probably professional services, right? Yeah. 541 and then 6 is management, scientific, and consulting. Yeah, we can live with that. will be 541 professional, scientific, and technical services. And 5416, I think, is reasonable. And that's a point for Nix codes. You don't have to put in the full 6 if you're not really sure. This is Brazil. Brazil is BR, right? Yeah. Region. That's a good question. Is Brazil listed down here in the regions? Yes. Okay. And then the state. That's a good question. Tivitation? See, this is when I need Alex to come in here. San Pablo. So San Pablo is in what state? So let's see what do states look like in Brazil. One federal district in 26 states. San Pablo, its own state. And named after it as the richest Brazil, so it's major index. Sao Paulo also has the second highest. Okay, so maybe we'll assume that San Pablo is its own state as well. Or a state named after its largest city. And the nomenclature of SP. So we'll go with BR-SP for state. BR-SP. We can close that. And action. Social. Phishing. And we know that email is the vector. Target where end users or employees. It sounds like maybe development people, but this is for trying to infiltrate. And then there is that was used to get them to put in credentials to a malicious website. And then the credentials were used for stolen credentials to access their desktops. Really? Is that what they said? Including software. Suffered malicious through an email that contained a malicious link. Well, I guess it doesn't say credentials. It's allowed gain access to the details stored in their computers. That's interesting, because why would a link give you access to the desktop unless it was either stealing credentials to the actual system itself, which doesn't make sense, or more than likely, I mean, they must have like run something that was at the link, right? They clicked a link and it gave them when it downloaded some malware. That would be the most likely actual discussion. So they don't really say use of stolen credentials. Maybe malware, kind of remote access, command and control, backdoor really. Vector was an email link, as far as we can tell. The only other real possibility is that like they had a desktop, like there was a vulnerability, but it'd be pretty bad to be behind far enough that you had a remote executable link that would work. It's more likely they download and ran, a file or something, an executable or a macro-enabled Office document or something. So this was used to infiltrate, and this was really, the malware was used to really exfiltrate data. This is how I read this. Then the actor was I'm gonna mark unknown. They're clearly skilled, but they also posted the credentials on pastebin, which I don't think they would have done if they were really trying hard to sell them. Doesn't seem like a good idea. It's also really unknown kind of what they were doing, or like were they trying to sell the credentials? Is that why they put them on pastebin? Did they just want to, show that these people were poorly secured? Total assets 9, and technically we have 18. So we have 9 desktops. Which would be user device, desktop. And then we have the 9 users themselves. So people, and users, 9 of those. And then we have whatever data was stolen, actually. But do we know? It says 1,000 lines of code involved, let's say 19. So there's other data. I'm going to mark a couple different things. Sounds like they stole internal data. So, but these are assets that were compromised. We'll leave the assets here. But I am going to go back and mark for victims. I'm going to mark 19 secondary victims and put some other ones in here based off of the list that was over here at this site. Clabin, Brookfield, JM Cito, Multiplan, Raskin, Faber, Original Bank, the original name, Sabre, Votorantim. And they didn't list any other ones over on the side over here, did they? They listed a couple, I think, examples. Zurich, Brazilian Financial Banco Original, I think Original Bank, SAP. I don't see SAP in here. Maybe we'll add SAP. Swiss insurance company, Zurich. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. That's the better part of them. Faber, okay. Got the action. I think we got the actor. External. Now we can do we did the assets. Now the attributes. It's code, yes. Data total. This one I'm not sure we know. So we know, in fact, I'm going to go and do the integrity part first. Because the integrity of the alter behavior to get people to click phishing link. And that was used to compromise the confidentiality of, we know at least, I mean, we don't know. There's also the integrity of the systems. So I'm going to actually go back and do more integrity. Let's see. Display fraudulent hardware tampering. So software installation, alter behavior. Okay, and then confidentiality. What was breached was 19 companies worth of data. So there was internal data about the companies. There was credentials. We saw some of those listed and blurred out. But it doesn't seem, it's not clear how much of these was breached. You know, we know at least 19 because their data was breached, but I don't want to put a number in here because it'll push around. So customer as well as victim organization, I think. State, say stored unencrypted on the laptops. Data abuse, yes, because it was posted to paste, but I count that as abuse. Boot. Targeted. This seems kind of targeted. Like, it seems like they specifically wanted this organization. Discovery method. Actor disclosure. Posted to pastebin. The value chain. Okay, so clearly there was payload malware distributed. Oh, I always do that. Distribution services. Non-distribution services we don't know. Targeting was certainly email addresses. Distribution, we email distribution. We don't know about cash out money laundering because we don't even know whether this was monetarily motivated. Impact overall rating. I want to mark painful because they lost customer data, and I'm sure that there are real impacts to having done that. And then the investigation as well was probably non-trivial. This was a random assignment. Then the event chain was a social attack by an external actor on a person led to a compromise of integrity. And then that led to a malware action by an external person on a user device, which compromised integrity of the system. And then that led to, really, I guess there's a hacking action. Well, I mean, I think there was a hacking action to look at the system. Once the malware was on, they used the malware from the external actor on the user device, and this was used to compromise confidentiality. And that really means we need to go back here and code a hacking action. Fingerprinting, forced browsing, use of backdoor C2. So they use that. Vector. The backdoor itself, this was used to exfiltrate data. Okay, which really means that the malware probably should be marked as infiltrate. With that, we can invalidate. By the way, this is a real benefit for doing things like event chains, because when you use the event chain, it helps you kind of realize what you may or may not have missed when you were coding. Just kind of a double check on the whole thing. So we'll save this one off. That's 3. And hopefully we can get one more here in before I'm at time, but I really want to get one more done for the day. So close this one, and we'll go back and do one last one. Let's see. Suki School District warns parents of privacy breach. Okay. Let's see, what is this? What's this? Suki School District is warning parents about a privacy invasion after an employee's email was hacked. Discovered that the email account of a staff member was compromised by someone outside the district and used to email out a spam information link to other staff. Approximately 15 members clicked on the link, thereby exposing their email accounts and email contents to the hacker, i.e. it was a link to a faked email site, and they put in their credentials. The warning email was only directed at approximately 1,300 families in the district who were potentially affected. Cambridge said the technology department deactivated all email addresses that were affected, but the contents of the email could have been compromised. I mean, some emails from students in the district could have been viewed. Okay, well, this is not a great, robust amount of information here. It is certainly an issue because they are confirming it, but it's not great. So GitHub ID, reference here, summary, one employee is phished. Count is used to phish 15 more. Confidence, medium, timeline, incident. This happened, we'll say, in 2018. We really don't know when. Compromise, say hours to collect the first email. We don't know how long it took them to turn around. And the rest of it, discovery happened. Again, it's unclear. And it sounds like they immediately, once they discovered it, they turned off the email accounts pretty quickly. So there's our timeline. The victim is the Suki School District. And I have no clue where this is. British Columbia, maybe? I would assume that is the BC. It won't let me go to the end. It keeps adding stuff. That is horrible. Like, seriously, you can't get to the end of the website because it just keeps posting stuff. What's the point? What's the point in having a footer on the website if you just keep adding stuff? That is, oh, jeez. This is not good website design. Okay. Is there an About Us Here page? Yes, Contact Us is the... BP is Black Press? Blackpress.ca, so maybe it's not British Columbia. I'm going to have to search. I don't know where this is. It's a school district in British Columbia. Oh, it is British Columbia. Okay. Well, we can work from there. Canada. That's North America. And then, do I dare guess that the state is BC? Yeah. Adds all the way down. Like, yeah. Oh, I know it's. Yeah. Oh man, I can't imagine trying to parse a website that just keeps adding as you download it. That's got to be just rough. You just have to make sure not to actually scroll the page. So BC for state, and then industry. This goes into cities, schools. Schools. Just take me to schools. Here we go. Elementary and secondary schools. Ever present 6110. Looks like one location. I mean, it's one school district. And so how many employees does this school district have? Acquiring mind. 27 schools. We'll assume 100 employees per school. So that's 1,000. Well, 100, that's too many. I mean, it's not 100. It's maybe, say, one. So you have to figure 3 teachers per grade times 8 grades plus, staff plus cleaning staff. Maybe 30 or 40. You think 30 or 40 per 40 times 27 schools. Say 40 times 27 schools is maybe right, and that would give us 1,000. Gosh, it's right on the cut line between small and large potentially. These numbers were probably old though. But then again, how quickly do schools grow? Right, companies tend to grow pretty quickly. They're either growing or they're not. But let's see. Suki School District. Any takers here? Nope. Okay. One more try. About. Oh, maybe the about page has something. Elementary, middle, one adult location, student success, vision, 11,000 students. So if it's 11,000 students, it'd be 1 to 10 ratio. I'm going to say this is small. I'm going to say that there are 100 to 1,000 employees. I don't know why I'm like spending all this time worrying about that. Like, it's not that big a deal, but So there's the victim. The action was we had a phishing attack that by email, targeting just employees. That was used to exfiltrate credentials twice. That's the thing, is we're gonna duplicate this, and both of them generated credentials, and then we're gonna use of stolen credentials to do the second one. Access was through the web application through their email. This was used to infiltrate to send out more addresses, so you can sell this stuff. Actor was an external actor, certainly organized in their approach. Certainly a financial approach. We don't know the location. External actor, so market is unknown. The assets compromised. So we had people who are end users, and then there was the one, and then there was another next 15. So 16 users and 16, we're going to say one web application for the email server. So 17 total assets. The attribute, confidentiality, 16 different sets of credentials. This was probably opportunistic. And then the integrity, send phishing emails of the server was compromised. Discovery method, do they say how it was discovered? Gosh, can I even get back up to the top of the page? Oh, this is the about page. Okay. Will it take us back here? The email has been compromised. Me in the email. They don't really say how they discovered it. More than likely, someone looked at it and realized it was, not legitimate. And we could code the compromise of 1,300 families, but it doesn't seem like there's any. They don't have any reason to believe that. But it sounds like it was internal, discovered by maybe an employee. But we'll go with unknown. Value chain. Again, from a development standpoint, there was no malware developed, but there was email targeting and email distribution. And we don't know how they were cashing out. Impact, insignificant. They told everyone what happened, and that was about it. And this was a random assignment. And then the event chain was a social attack by an external actor, compromised the person's integrity. And then that was used for a hacking action by the external actor to access the server, send more phishing emails. And then that was used to, technically this is almost like coding. This is the problem with breaches, is that this is really two breaches in one, right? This is not one breach. But breaches are very cyclic. And so, let's see. Oh, this was used to compromise confidentiality. Yeah, this is one of the many problems. This is one of the problems with coding breaches, is because they're very cyclic. And so one breach leads to another, and so you have to kind of draw an artificial line in the sand where one breach starts and the other stops. And, sometimes it is somewhat arbitrary, depending on if they had reported this as two separate breaches, we probably would have coded it as two separate breaches. Really, it's more of kind of a ever spinning wheel. If anyone's read the Wheel of Time series, it reminds me of that. A wheel turns and says not the beginning, but is a beginning type thing. And so there's just always kind of a new breach, and this breach will lead to another breach, right? Because it was a breach of credentials, and maybe they rifled through the email and they found individual stuff that they wanted to use. Maybe they used these email addresses or used the 15 email addresses to send out other phishing emails that they don't know about yet, right? And so it's just kind of always turning. But for us, I am a little bit past time, so I'm going to call it a day. We got 4 added, and I will be back next Thursday, same time, 10 p.m. or 10 a.m. EDT. Let's see. Now, are you mixing Wheel of Time and Game of Thrones there? I don't. I didn't do that. Don't. You can't quote me on that one. I only read like the first couple Game of Thrones books because there's like a very distinct pattern that they followed that I just kind of didn't like. But I read the entire. No, I have a recording. Witnesses don't count. I have video. Um, did not say that. Um, but yeah, I like the Wheel of Time. I actually read the entire Wheel of Time series end to end on like completely on flights. Like every book, every 1,000+ page book on flights back when I was traveling a lot to do security tests. So anyway, I'm gonna call it a day before I dig myself into a deeper hole. I'll see y'all later. Bye.